Rania Bahal, Assistant Professor in Chemical Engineering Department at LJ Institute of Engineering and Technology. The subject that we are going to continue is Mass Transfer Operation 2. So, in this lecture, we will study about the cooling towers. Okay, cooling towers has a major application when we are talking about the humidification operation. Okay, again, what is humidification? Humidification means you are adding water vapor into your air. Okay, see, note down here, in humidification it is not necessary that the temperature of your air will always decrease. Humidification simply means you are adding water into your dry gas. So that is your humidification. Now what are cooling towers? See, a cooling tower is a type of heat exchanger, okay, in which warm water and air are brought into contact for evaporative cooling. Okay, see, note down the term evaporative cooling. So it is a non-adiabatic operation. Okay, so in cooling tower, what you are carrying out? A non-adiabatic operation. Okay, and what you are doing? Warm water and air are brought into contact here. Now, enthalpy of air is lower than enthalpy of water, right? So sensible heat and latent heat transfer take place from water drop to the surrounding air. The mechanism is what here? Sensible and latent heat transfer occurs from water drop to the surrounding air. Okay, so temperature of water decreases here, plus some amount of evaporation also occurs because latent heat is also included. Okay, so water will get converted into vapor phase. So, and sensible heat means the temperature will decrease of your warm water. Okay, so this way energy transfer occurs from warm water to your air. Now the design of your cooling tower depends on the following factors. First of all, dry and wet bulb temperature of air. Second is the temperature of your warm water. Then the mass transfer coefficient. Okay, how much mass transfer coefficient is there between water and air? Then and only then it will be possible for mass to transfer. Okay, here mass is what we are talking about, water vapor, right? Then the uniformity of distribution of both phases. Okay, of course air and water has to be brought into contact here, right? So uniformity of distribution is also important here. Then air pressure drop. Then the desired temperature required for your water. Up to what temperature you have to cool down your water. So these are the 6 factors on which your design of cooling tower depends. Now, see, this is the working of your cooling tower. Okay, so on the bottommost part you can see that is what your cooled water is stored in your basin. Okay, your cooled water is stored over there. Now here you can see that, okay, fresh air, it is passing through your bottom of the cooling tower, right? Okay, hot water, you are sending your hot water from the top, right? Hot water is then, nozzles are kept over there. Okay, see here, first of all, have a look onto the components of cooling tower. Okay, so first of all, you can see the cold water basin is there. Air suction occurs from the bottom part, right? Your water distribution, in the middle part, you can see that water distribution nozzles are there. Okay, what does it do? The use of water distribution nozzle is what? That it evenly distributes your hot water. Then this is your cooling film. Okay, cooling film was the use of it, that it creates as much as contact between air and your hot water. Okay, so now here you can see that your air from the bottom and your hot water, they come into contact with each other. Okay, and as air is going from the bottom and your hot water is coming downwards. Okay, so that way heat and mass transfer occurs. Okay, again the kind of heat transfer we saw, that sensible heat and latent heat transfer occurs. Okay, so here you can see that hot water and air come into contact with each other, and from the outlet you get your hot air. Okay, and this way what you are doing, you are cooling your hot water. So you can see that from the bottom you are taking out your cold water. So the application of cooling tower is mainly in what? In your nuclear power plants, right? Where you need to have a recirculation of your cold water. Okay, in the nuclear plant, okay, because of the having controlled reaction, you are using water as a coolant. Okay, of course, because of the heat transfer, it gets very hot. Now you have to keep cooling tower so as to reuse that hot water. So in cooling tower, what is the mechanism here? That you are cooling your hot water using the air here, right? So process is very simple. You can see that what you are doing, your hot water is distributed evenly. This is your exchange service where, okay, it is packed with packing materials and it creates good contact between air and your hot water. Okay, from the bottom air is passed. Now the surface is what? Cooled water. Of course cooled water is there, so it will take some part of cool air with it. Okay, and then it will come into contact with the hot water, and that way from the top you get your hot air. Okay, which is discharged off. and you get your cool water from the bottom this way. Okay. Now in this whole process 2% of water loss is there due to evaporation. What kind of evaporation is there? Evaporative cooling. Okay. Cooled water is there as air passes through it. Okay. Some amount of water is taken out with that air. Okay. And that air is what again? It is cool. Okay. So this is about your cooling tower, the mechanism. We saw the components, drift eliminators. The use of drift eliminators is what? Okay, some amount of droplets of water also carry out with the air. So they trap the water droplets which are present in your air. Now what is evaporative cooling? Okay, the cooling that results due to evaporation of liquid is called as evaporative cooling. See, this is the principle of the working of what your air coolers. Okay, your air coolers, you can see that. Here you can see that evaporative pad. Okay, it is always kept with your water. Now as hot air passes through it, okay, it comes into contact with your water, and because of that you're keeping what? Again, you're keeping your blower. Okay, the blower, it will then suck out the cool refreshing air. Okay, now this air is what? It is humidified also, and its temperature has also been decreased because some amount of water has been what? Evaporated into your air. Okay, so room coolers work on this principle. Now note down the difference here, that in humidification it is not necessary that the temperature of air will always reduce. Okay, it is an adiabatic operation and only water is added into your dry gas. So in humidification what you are doing, only water is added. Okay, it's cooling, the temperature decrease of air is not necessary. But whereas in evaporative cooling what you do, it is a non-adiabatic operation and temperature also reduces. So your air coolers, it works on that principle. Okay, because you can see in summer when you turn on your air coolers. Okay, what you're doing, the air padding. Okay, that's it, like you can see that evaporative padding, it is always kept wet. Okay, water transfers through that air padding. Now because of the blower you get what? Your cool air. Now that cool air is again humidified also. Okay, some amount of water is always present, and that is because of what? That is because of your evaporation, right? So this is about your evaporative cooling. Now the classification of cooling towers. See, based on the air draft and based on airflow pattern, you are dividing your cooling towers. So based on air draft, you have what? Atmospheric, natural draft and mechanical draft. Mechanical draft is again classified as induced draft and forced draft. Based on the airflow pattern, you have cross flow and counter flow cooling towers. Okay. Now what are the atmospheric tower? It is a big rectangular chamber with two opposite lowered walls. So you can see in the right side image what is lowered wall. Okay, that is your lowered wall. Now tower is packed with suitable tower fill. Here the use of filling is what? It provides good contact between air and water, right? Now atmosphere air enters through the lowers driven by its own velocity. Okay, so through the lowers your air enters. Now direction velocity of wind greatly influences its performance. So here you can see that atmospheric tower, how it works. Okay, hot water in from the top of, you can see you're distributing your hot water. Air is taken into from the sides of your lowers. Okay, and hot air is taken out from the top of your column. Okay, and from the bottom you get your cold water. So this is your atmospheric tower. Now natural draft. A natural draft cooling tower has a large reinforced concrete shell of hyperbolic shape. So you can see that this is your natural draft cooling tower. Okay, this is also called as hyperbolic tower. So you can see the structure of it. It is a hyperbola form. Okay, so natural flow of air occurs through the tower. Hence it is called as natural draft. So see here, as temperature of air changes, okay, density changes. So because of that, a natural draft of air occurs. Okay, hot air moves upward and it displaces. Okay, and so instead of that hot air, now cooled air comes into its place. So this way circulation of air occurs. Okay, hot air, because its density decreases, it moves upwards, and instead of that your cold air again comes. So this way circulation of air occurs in your natural draft. Now the use of hyperbola is what? Because it provides easy flow of your air to pass. Okay, it creates a good pressure difference. Because of pressure difference, your air is able to move from bottom to top. Okay, and this shape helps that. Hyperbola shape helps to cause a natural circulation of air. Right? The next is your mechanical draft. Now this is your, in mechanical draft, here we saw in classification, again you have induced draft and forced draft. Okay, so first is your forced draft cooling tower. Okay, now it has one or more fans which are located in the tower bottom to push air into the tower. So here you can see that at the bottom what you're keeping a fan also. Okay, Whereas in natural draft, in atmosphere, you can see that no fan was used. Okay, so here fan is used. Now air flow through the packing may be not uniform. So the problem here is what, that the packing, okay, air flow through the packing may not be uniform. Right, so this is your mechanical draft cooling tower. Next is your induced draft cooling tower, which is again part of your what? Mechanical draft. Okay, here one or more fans are installed at the top of the tower. Okay, so here what you're doing, you're keeping fan at top, whereas in forced draft, fan was at the bottom. Now depending on the air inlet and flow pattern, your induced draft towers are two types, cross flow or counter cross flow. Okay, see, in counter flow, what flow we are talking about? About water and air contact. Okay, so in counter flow you can see that water is coming from the top and your air is going from the bottom. So that is again what your counter flow. Whereas in cross flow, you can see air is coming, horizontally, and your hot water is coming from the top. So cross flow is achieving here. Okay, cross flow contact occurs. So this way induced draft is classified. The same is the classification based on your airflow pattern. Okay, so we saw here, based on airflow pattern, you have cross flow and counter flow. So again, counter flow, we saw the air pattern is how hot water is coming from the top and your cold air is coming from the bottom. Okay, similarly for cross flow, your cold air, it is coming horizontally. Okay, it is entering horizontally, whereas your hot water it is coming from top. So this was about your cooling towers. The next topic here is now range and approach. Okay, range and approach is very important in the part of designing of your cooling tower. Okay, so first of all, range. In simple language, range means how much the liquid can be cooled. Okay, that is your range. What is the temperature of your hot water and what is the temperature of your cool air? So how much heat exchange can occur, that is your range. Whereas approach, how much more the liquid can be cooled up to the wet bulb temperature of the gas. So here your measuring criteria for approach is what? Wet bulb temperature. See here, note down, which is very important property in humidification which you have to learn, that we can cool the liquid up to its wet bulb temperature only. Okay, why? See, because wet bulb is the temperature which measures the humidity condition here. Okay, so again here you can see that wet bulb temperature is the lowest temperature to which air can be cooled by evaporation of water into the air at constant pressure. Okay, when we were studying about wet bulb temperature, we noted that it again shows you the amount of water present in it. Okay, so that is the lowest temperature up to which you can cool your air, because further cooling will result into what? Condensation. Okay, condensation will occur here. So up to wet bulb temperature only you can cool your air. Okay, because at dew point, when you go below dew point, at dew point what, your air is already saturated. Now further saturation means it is already fully, it is having excess amount of water in it. So no more evaporative cooling can occur using dew point temperature of air. Okay, because at dew point it is already saturated with enough water. So when we are talking about evaporative cooling, your air can only be cooled up to wet bulb temperature, because at wet bulb temperature your air is unsaturated. More amount of water can be taken into it, right? So here you can see that what is range. So you can see hot water temperature in and cold water temperature out. So that is your range. Okay, into the tower and out to the tower. Okay, in hot water in minus the temperature of cold water out. So up to that temperature you can, that is your range up to which you can cool it. Okay, now approach is what? Maximum limit up to which you can cool. Okay, up to the wet bulb temperature you can cool it. So cold water out and wet bulb temperature in. So that is your approach. Okay, how much more the liquid can be cooled up to the wet bulb temperature. So these are the important points you have to remember about your cooling tower. So that was about today's lecture. In next lecture we will continue with different chapter. Thank you.